Hello to Big Scott 35. Let's talk. Today I have a special guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Rick Larson. I'm owner of Larson Red Zone Sports. I'm located in the Southbridge Mall in Mason City, Iowa. I've had a store here for almost 16 years.
Awesome, awesome. And I've been coming here 6 to 7 years. I've been in Iowa for 7 years. I remember you in a small store down
Yeah,
yonder. You get to
yeah,
a bigger store. Now you're in an even bigger store.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a great growing I've been a part of. So it's been awesome. Now, Rick, you've been doing this. We've talked, about your past in this, but how long have you been actually collecting cards?
I started collecting cards in 1972, and you know, off and on throughout my childhood. But I had a passion for sports, so card collecting kind of went hand in hand with that. And I would have to say, probably in 1982, 83 is when I kind of took it to a different level, and I really, got into it. And my passion back then was really almost all baseball for many years, and then as you know, got into things more and more and more, and now I've evolved into all the other sports as well.
Well, yes, because I've noticed. I mean, you talked about it before. I'm from the East Coast, and it seems like baseball's king. I moved out here, and it was football.
Yes.
I mean, it was everywhere, all the shows. But now it's kind of like everything else is basketball, but football's still huge here. So me and you, I know you love the Cubs.
Yeah.
You live and die with them.
Yes, I
It
do.
was a hard weekend this past weekend for you, I know.
That was tough.
For football, are you a Bears or which way do you go for that?
Well, I don't lose sleep over anybody from that standpoint. It's not like baseball and college football. College, I'm a Hawkeye fan. Baseball, I'm a Cubs fan. Football, I gotta say, I've been to several Chiefs games over the past few years, so I guess the Chiefs are probably my team.
Right.
But I gotta say, it's probably the Bears and Vikings, and it's hard to say that when you got two teams from the same division. But
Right.
growing up, I was a huge Walter Payton fan.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was my favorite football player of all time. But being close to Minnesota and with the store and stuff, it's I kind of get caught up with the Vikings as well.
Right. Yeah, because I've been caught up with the Vikings too, as a Cowboy fan, but just because so many of my friends are Viking. We're out here in the middle here in Iowa, so it's a little
Yeah,
bit of everything.
yeah.
So that makes it fun for all the seasons.
That's one thing with this store, which kind of makes it fun for me. I mean, I like to be able to cover as many teams as I can, and yeah, being in Iowa, we don't have a professional team here. I guess Iowa and Iowa State, you
Right.
could say, are kind of like our pro teams, but from the professional standpoint, I mean, especially in football, there's so many fans of so many teams that come in here on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that it makes it kind of fun.
Right. And and to support your store, you're not only selling sports cards, you're selling collectibles of all kinds. So you kind of have to carry all that stuff. I mean, you've talked about it before. That kind of carries your store and helps you with your card selling, right?
Yeah, yeah, we carry collectibles and novelties, and during the holidays, I mean, collectibles and novelties are huge,
Yeah.
and we sell them throughout the year. But
Right.
that was one thing that I have tried to do throughout the years, and once again, since we don't have a pro team here, I realized shortly into this business that we had fans of all teams.
Right.
And so right now I can say I believe ranging NFL, NBA, and NHL, baseball, and college. I think we cover over 160 teams.
Wow. Well, it was funny because they built the hockey arena here on the mall, which was a brilliant idea for the mall. That was a
Absolutely, yeah,
great way for this area. The crash learning that we were all doing in hockey,
yeah.
trying to together and help each other.
Yeah, still learning hockey.
Yes, I am too. And I'm a huge Caps fan, but that's it. I get outside of that, and I have to really research it. So that's been fun. And knowing that a gentleman like you that owns a card shop in your background, having to learn it too.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, and you feel you feel like you need to know as much as your customers do to some extent.
Right.
Baseball, football, basketball, I've always been able to handle myself pretty well. But, with the hockey arena opening up and, with more hockey collectors coming in, I find myself at times, lost when they're looking for a certain player. I'm like, I'm not sure who's he play with, and
Right.
but I'm learning more about that too.
And that's a fun part of the hobby, right?
It is. It
and
is.
that's not just having to have a store. That's just a fun part of the hobby.
It is
learning.
It is. Yeah, I learned something. I've been doing it for a long time, but yeah, I learned something every day about
Yes.
this hobby. From a lot of my customers that come in, because there's so much information out there
Yes.
that you can only absorb so much in a day, in a week, and
Right.
and I'm focused on certain things for my store, and there's a lot of other things out there that I probably need to be focused on. But you have other people that talk about this, and that helps me, expand my knowledge too.
Yeah, and you've been a great resource for me. I know I can text you or come in and ask at any time, and you're there for us. You've been a great resource to this whole central Midwestern region, it sounds like. So, but back to collecting, we've talked about it before. For you, it's kind of tough to have a PC, having a store, but we've talked about a couple of cards, even one is as of yesterday that you're really interested in. I know of two. Is there? I don't know if you'll bring them up or remember them, but are there cards out there that you actively look for or hope, wishing that they're going to walk in your door for a trade? Or
Oh yeah. I said starting in baseball, I guess I've always enjoyed, some of the older players. So, Ernie Banks, Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, Mickey Mantle, rookie cards of those players would be awesome to have. And I have Aaron, I have Banks. I've honestly never ran across a Clemente, may never run across Mantle. I mean, obviously the prices for him are up there too.
right,
But there's I got able to acquire a couple Jackie Robinson cards. So the older cards are definitely for baseball or something that I really be nice to find. People bring collections in really on a weekly basis to me, and I never know what I'm going to get to see, and that's kind of the fun part about the hobby too. Is
Right.
I see some things once in a while that a lot of people don't get a chance to see.
yeah, I know you do. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to walk in and
Yeah.
see them too. I know we talked. This is one card and I was kind of looking for it too. I'm not a basketball guy, but the Luau Cinder, right? We talked
Yes.
about that one
Yeah.
before. That the goats of the game. You kind of always of any game. I mean, you got to see a Clemente yesterday, right?
Yes, I got to see a Clemente yesterday for my guy sitting right next to me here.
Yeah.
First time I've seen that card in person in a long time.
Yeah, and I told you, like at the show this past weekend, it was like it was his rookie year all over again because
Yeah.
it was a lot of people looking for that card.
Yeah.
I was shocked. But now we're going to get to kind of the business side of things. I know during the pandemic, we talked about, because you also have an eBay presence as well, and
Yes.
we'll let you go over that at the end here. But, your business did well, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as well as eBay was your brick and mortar store as well, correct?
Yeah, the pandemic for us, I guess, was a blessing in disguise. And I know with some businesses, it seems like it's been feast or famine.
Right.
There's probably a few out there that's kind of been steady throughout, but there's some businesses that obviously have gotten hurt a lot by it, but there's others that have just benefited greatly. And it's been kind of a roller coaster, but
Right.
the card collecting hobby has just exploded in the last year to year and a half, and we've benefited from that here. So I see so many more people coming into the store on a weekly and monthly basis, and people coming from other areas of the state and things like that. And a lot of them, have decided to get back into the hobby. They maybe did it a long time ago or as a kid, and now they want to get back into it.
Yeah,
and it's fun.
That's awesome.
Talking to people about it and trying to help them to get back into it. So
Yep. and trying to understand not every card is $1 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of some type of heartbreaker when you got to tell somebody that's coming back in that maybe not every card
Yeah.
is $100 or more. Uh, Now, the dip or correction or whatever, are you feeling a little bit of that, or is it just you're still selling cards, so it doesn't really matter?
Still selling cards. That part I don't think is always kind of been that way. There's
Right.
things kind of, you have peaks and valleys for a lot of things: new basketball, new football, old football, and so forth. And while some things, there's some of the new product now, newer singles have dipped some. I see other things maybe like vintage right now seems to be at an uptick right now. So, as one maybe comes down, you see more collectors maybe going more into something else.
Right.
Packs and boxes have been, very steady. They're obviously tougher to find. They're now a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of collectors that like to open packs and boxes.
Yeah.
So I always try to have a fair amount here for the customers to look at.
Yeah, and I'll get into that because I want to talk about the vintage for a minute. As you can tell, I've kind of looked more into vintage because of the pricing. If I'm going to pay a lot for a card, I'd rather get a guy that we already know what he's done, not
Absolutely.
hoping what he's going to do.
Absolutely.
And you've been a great source here, and this area is great for vintage. So you said it's an uptick, but do you think that is well needed, like price range? Because a lot of those cards were still, to me, comparably speaking to new stuff, on the low side, and them coming up a little bit, probably that's more of a correction than anything else.
I think that maybe is also, with more people getting into the hobby, a lot of people, jumped in last year. Maybe they were just buying to buy and buying who they were watching on TV. But I think some of these guys that are still involved, they're learning more about the hobby.
Right.
And I think they maybe realize that these newer players are up and down almost on a daily basis, whereas if they get into some of the older singles, the vintage singles of some of the guys we've been talking about, they've cemented their place in history.
Right.
Their cards are always going to have some value, continue to go up some, and a lot of them really still to this day very reasonably priced compared to some of the newer singles that you see out there. And and I think that's part of the ups and downs. There's always going to be people wanting new product because that's what they want. They see the guys on TV. They want to go out and get their merchandise, and it's understandable.
Right, and very understandable. That's the kind of way I am. I like to collect the players. I'm a 70s and 80s guy, and I love and even early 90s. But I still like today's players because you see them every day.
You bet.
And they're exciting to watch. Very good at a young age. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you were talking about boxes. I mean, you've talked about it before, how hard it is for you to get them, the prices you got to pay for them. But you still do well selling them at those prices. You have people that come in here from a distance to pick them up, right?
I do. And, that's something that I've learned from through over the years. There's always that mystery, that mystique. What's in that pack?
Right.
What's in that box?
That's the way I am.
And that's just something that's in everybody, that's into the hobby. Most people, they get that itch. They wanna open something, and so yes, the prices have gone up. I think some of the collectors now have to pick and choose a little bit what they want to get, what they can't afford to get, and with the same thing here, I've had to be a little more picky on what I decide to carry and not to carry, because there is some product for, in my store and in this area with our population and stuff that, I get into some of the higher dollar stuff. It's a little more challenging to sell it. So I guess I look at my price points and try to, make that hopefully work for as many of my customers as possible.
Yeah, and I can tell you this for your customers. Once you get to know us, he has a cubby hole for us where he puts cards that come in, waiting for us to come in, and he has a list of who you collect. So he is I guess that's a plus of being in this area.
And that's a lot of fun too. And that's
Right.
I'll get collections in, and and I've probably got 8 to 10 different people, you being one of them,
Right.
and they look for certain players, certain teams. So as I run across these cards, I just set them aside. I got a compartment in back with about 15 to 20 drawers, and I get this guys, I put them in here. I get this team, I put them in here,
Yeah.
and then you guys come in, you take a look at what you want, and then I just another collection comes in, do it all over again.
Well, I've always said too on my channel is like your store is to me like an old school barbershop feel. The guys come in, hang out.
Yeah.
Same guys. You have a group of friends, and it's great coming in here listening to the stories and
Yeah.
about the hobby and other things. Everything under this, just like a barbershop. Everything.
Yeah, it is fun. It is
Yeah.
fun. There's some days, when you have 4 or 5 guys in here, and and they, you guys have all been coming in for a while, and then we start talking about this, talking about that, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. You
Right.
talk about card collecting, you talk about the hobby, and whatever, and that's part of what it's about.
Yes, and that's awesome. The last thing I want to touch on is your, I think, success in your card shows that you put on. I think it's very successful. I've talked about it before. Uh, I mean, have you seen it grown? I know you have to turn away people. What are you thinking about that moving forward?
Well, the past 5 to 6 years, I've held eight card shows a year. January, February, March, April, and then July or June, August, October, November. And as of right now, I guess I don't think I'm gonna change that. The last year and a half, the shows have gotten a lot more popular, and as an evidence, there's more collectors, there's more people coming to the shows. I know my show coming up in a couple weeks is a good example. I've got 5 guys doing this show that have never done my show before.
Oh, really?
And I know 3 of them have never even done a show before.
Wow.
So it's going to kind of be fun from the standpoint, it'll be a show where I have a bunch of, I guess you say smaller dealers with not quite as big of a collections. So I think it'll make it fun for everybody, because you're going to have some new people getting into the hobby
right.
as a dealer. I mean, they've been collecting for a while,
Right.
But now they want to set up and do a show. So
And as a mall show goes, it gets pretty crowded here and a good flow. I've seen a lot of people, and it can get hectic. So I hope these people know what I hope they've at least come to one in the past, so they know what they're getting into a little bit.
I talked to them a little bit. I mean, just
I'd say that, and this one might not be as busy, but
you just never know, and every show is a little different that way.
Right.
You never know from show to show, what the turnout's going to be. I do my best to, publicize it using a variety of sources.
Yes, you do.
And we usually do get a pretty good customer turnout at all the shows. Some are going to be better than others.
Yeah, and I mean, as mall shows goes, it's not to me it's not a typical mall show. It has energy. A lot of mall shows are a little flat. This one, you do anything from having snacks to you making sure the kids are taken care of. It's got some energy to it for a mall show, and I appreciate that. I don't know if you do it purposely, but it does. I can tell you, I go to all, every weekend I'm off, I like to try to hit a show, and this one does carry a little bit more energy than others.
I want to try to make it as fun as possible for the dealers. I know my wife will, when she has time, will even fix a meal on Saturday for everybody. So.
I was going to bring her name, not name, just reference to her. She is great.
She loves doing it. In fact, I've had to tell her no a couple times, and we get in an argument because she insists she wants to do it. But,
and she knows all of us just as well as you do.
Exactly. Exactly.
All your employees. I'll see your employees out, anywhere in town, and I'll say hi. And, it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, we got a good group of people here.
Yeah. So if you're in the North Iowa area, do yourself justice, even if you're not a collector but just looking for stuff for a loved one or for yourself. It's a great spot to get it. I can tell you that right now. And You know, Rick, I want to say thank you for
You bet.
being such a plus for our community on the
Thank you.
local level, and man, you are a great source for not only cards but the hobby. Because I could come in and talk to you about somebody 2 hours away. You know something about them and what's going on in other states. So it's awesome to have that resource as a person in the hobby. And I know not everyone has a store like this to go to. I did not in a more populated area of this country, and I move out here and run into you, and it's been a blessing, and I appreciate it again. I want to say thank you. Now, again, tell us your store name and where we
Yep.
can find the store.
Yep. Once again, name of our store is Larson Red Zone Sports, and we're located in the Southbridge Mall in Mason City, Iowa, just off of I-35. And if you're looking for us, you can find us on Google, on Facebook. We also have a website, so you can find us on a variety of fronts, and we have phone numbers out there. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me. So pretty easy to get a hold of me if you need to get a hold of me too.
And the Facebook group is the same name, right? Or
Facebook is Larson Red Zone Sports. The website is www.larsonredzonesports.com.
Yes, and on both of those you have the listing of the shows.
Yes.
And all your information.
Yep.
And what's your eBay store name?
My eBay store would be Iowa Hawkeye Fan 16, and Hawkeye is actually HAWKI Fan 16, and I've had a presence there for 20 years. I've got a pretty good sized store now in which I have a lot of cards on there, a few collectibles and novelties, but it's mostly cards.
And I will get all this information and put it in the notes in the bottom for you to check them out. Rick, again, thank you very much for doing this, and good luck in future
Thank you.
endeavors.
Thank
And you always have, even if I move, I'm going to be hitting you up.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
So,
Enjoy you coming in.
thank you very much. So until next time, please like, subscribe, come and visit Rick, and we'll see you.
will know.